right, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of NIMBLIVE. My name is Michael Pytel, and this is Gabe Menching. We are here at Nimble's offices in Denver, Colorado. Now, what we're trying to do here with this live session is basically try to kill the PowerPoint, right? So we attend a lot of PowerPoints throughout the year, and they're all wonderful and very insightful, but really wanted to keep this conversational today with Gabe and I. We want to talk about Sapphire, what's coming up and what's new. A lot of SAP news this week, in the past week. What were some of the news items that you thought were good, Gabe?
Probably one of the biggest ones was the new partnership between Apple and SAP.
Yeah, this Apple partnership for me was interesting because UI5 is really meant to be, or what I thought was, browser-based, right? Access from any browser, anywhere. And this partnership with SAP and Apple specifically highlights native applications. So SAP really saying, hey, we're gonna support native applications on Apple, which again is great if you're an all Apple organization. I know that our developers here, we've struggled sometimes when developing native apps for iOS and SAP using what's called Capsule Cordova and debugging. So there's been a lot of problems there. So that was interesting. And the other one that I heard this week, which was Solution Manager 7.2 available for S4 customers.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting too. And I think that's probably going to be centered around a lot of the sessions that we're seeing at Sapphire around 7.2. There's one here that I had that I was going to attend, which was Mark Thier's session on going live with S4 faster using 7.2.
And for those of you on the live webinar, what we're going to do at the end of this is we're going to post all of our recommended sessions to the notes on Ustream as well as on our YouTube channel. We'll go ahead and put all these recommended sessions out here. Again, the content we're talking about today is meant to guide you through Sapphire, because Sapphire has 600 sessions and 108 demo pods. So if you're an SAP customer, how do you know which one to hit, right? And so we spent a lot of time this week kind of going through all those sessions. We know a lot of the speakers. This is your fifth or sixth Sapphire in a row?
Yep.
That's right. It's my sixth Sapphire in a row. So we've done this rodeo before. We're big TechEd fans. What is one of the key differences between TechEd and Sapphire?
For instance, us being technical people, such as doing migrations, upgrades, we don't see much around, the tools that people are leveraging to do some of this work. So that's more around the tech ed space than we see at Sapphire.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that it's also about what's new, right? So the other item that was new was something interesting that we saw on SAP's news website, which was 2 new apps for Solution Manager on the SAP Store.
Yeah, definitely. Seeing those out there, that's the Focus Insight and the Focus Build apps.
Yeah, what was interesting about these is these are apps that are cloud-based, is what it looks like. Look like dashboards, taking information out of your on-premise Solution Manager and building dashboards. And there was 2. There was SAP Focused Insights and Focus Build.
Focus Build, yes.
Right? So Build was all about project management, project portfolio management, managing risk, managing work streams. And what was Insights about?
Insight is kind of some dashboards around getting insight of, for instance, your managed systems, maybe seeing, dashboards around stuff you're monitoring, technical monitoring, business process monitoring, insights into your landscape. Yeah,
and so these dashboards, I noticed, there's a demo link out there right now, and again, this is only 3 days old, so Gabe and I haven't had a chance to explore it or even install it, and there is something that you need to install. We saw that very clearly.
Yeah, there's an ABAP add-on that you're going to need to install into your Solution Manager system, and we're not too sure yet what role that's going to play.
Yeah, very interesting. So in terms of news, that was pretty exciting, the Apple partnership, and then the 7.2 news. I think it's very interesting how SAP is putting a lot of press out there about Solution Manager, of all things, right? Usually you hear about HANA, you hear about Vora, you hear about the Business Suite or S4, but there have been 5 press releases in the past 2 weeks about Solution Manager.
Yeah, definitely.
So Sapphire, let's focus on the pre-conference session. So every year SAP and ASUG, they have pre-conference days. It's an extra fee, but it's typically more focused content. What are some pre-conference sessions that you think are interesting or you would attend?
So the ones that I feel are interesting that I would attend is one that's on IoT. This is leverage IoT to enable digital transformation for your enterprise. So Puneet Supal from SAP is one of the speakers there. He's a good speaker and a friend of Nimble's. I felt like that would probably be a good session that I'd like to attend.
I agree. Puneet is an evangelist at SAP. He's got wonderful delivery. He's a big thinker. So if you're looking for hands-on, I don't think they're going to do a lot of hands-on in that pre-conference session. But if you're looking to find a way to build a business case or just think differently about SAP and IoT, putting session would definitely be good.
Yeah, and then the second one for me is there's a full all-day business objects deep dive. So that's the basically an all advanced deep dive into business objects. So me being a basis background, I've always been involved in setting up business objects, installing it, patching it, upgrading it, and things of that nature. And it's kind of always been one of those black boxes for me. I've never really got in and actually used the tools. So a session like that would definitely be beneficial for me.
Absolutely. I mean, basis guys like us, we tend to be sort of the man behind the curtain, right? So we're always setting up infrastructure, but it's kind of cool to go to these sessions to figure out how do people really use it, right? Obviously, it's our job to make sure they run fast and they run smooth and that they're defect-free, but actually driving value. That's definitely what I'm interested in as well. And then Solution Manager 7.2 is also a pre-conference session at Sapphire, and this is an interesting one because it's actually a hands-on lab, which is new for SAP to be doing at ASUG on their own. You've had some hands-on labs with Soulman. Maybe do you have any advice for SAP on how to run a hands-on lab?
Yeah, we've run a lot of hands-on labs especially in the solution manager space. There's only been a couple hitches here and there where you got 60 people getting into the system and they're all trying to get into one portion of the lab that locks a table or things of that nature. So really testing everything out ahead of time. Exactly.
That's one thing we've learned is that Solution Manager is not meant for 60 project managers to sign in at the same time. Yeah. And that's no fault to Solution Manager. It's not real world scenario. So it will be interesting. So Solution Manager 7.2 pre-conference with John Krakowski and Evan Stoddard. These guys are the pillars of the Solution Manager community at SAP.
Yeah, for any of the other Solution Manager presentations out there that John Krakowski's doing, he's a great presenter and complete solution manager evangelist.
Exactly. And we should also note that both Evan and John are 100% approachable.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? I mean, if you as an SAP customer out there want to know more about Soulman, more about the value and actually how to get stuff done, John and Evan are an unlimited resource. We will email them direct. We try not to cry wolf.
Right.
Because we don't want to burn that bridge, right?
Definitely.
So the session. So Sapphire is amazing, right? When you walk into the show floor the first time, it's dimly lit, there's lights everywhere, there's music blasting, there's cool places to sit down and work, a great environment. But as we talked about before, it can be overwhelming because again, there's 600 sessions throughout the 3 days. For you use the agenda builder. How do you approach Sapphire? What do you look for when building your agenda and trying to get the best out of it?
Really go for, the stuff that's out there that I really need to get more information on. So a lot around HANA, a lot around the Fiori 2.0 space. So those are going to be my big focuses.
Yeah, I agree. So for those of you who don't know, if you haven't built your agenda yet, you need to go to sapandasug.com, and there you have the agenda builder where you can build your agenda. And Gabe brought up the first point I wanted to talk about of topics that, for me, I'm personally looking forward to at SAP. And just to remind the audience, Gabe and I have never worked for SAP. We're not SAP product managers. So anything that we say is our own opinion. All we're doing is reading the tea leaves like everybody else out there in terms of what's new, what's coming, and what's next. But Fiori 2.0, we saw a little bit of this at TechEd, and the whole concept of Fiori is changing. Today we have the Launchpad with tiles, which is very cool. Now we're going to have what are called perspectives. So when I log into Fiori, I'm going to have a perspective that's sort of my operational view, and then I'm going to have another perspective that's my analytical view. So I can float between perspectives and have different content on my Launchpad. And then the push notifications now in Fiori as well. So we can actually have interactivity once you're in a Fiori session, have notifications being pushed to you. So I'm excited about it. From a basis perspective, any experience with upgrading Fiori, upgrading models, upgrading applications, and any gotchas?
And that's one of the things I'm going to be looking to get more information on. So what does Fiori 2.0 mean? Is that something that we're going to have to upgrade components within the system? Or if it's just going to be a support package stack? We're not too sure of that yet.
Exactly. Yeah, no, we're very excited to learn about that. Now, the next thing I want to talk about was security, something that is in my opinion, over the past 5-6 years, security in SAP has been sort of a stepchild topic, and we definitely seen it grow. There's some security sessions here at annual conference. I mean, in your opinion, what do people want to know most about security?
A lot of it, there's a lot of unknowns out there. So, there's different products for single sign-on, for identity management, for, GRC. So a lot of it, there's a lot of tools and there's a lot of questions around what do I use for what and what's the best one for my scenario. I think there was a session that you had pointed out that's going to kind of go over all those tools, GRC, CUA, single sign-on, and identity management. That's probably going to be an important one for me to hit also.
Yes, that session that Gabe just referenced is on it's on Wednesday evening, 3:30. So I know everybody on Wednesday is typically getting ready to go out to the vendor parties, right? That's
Right.
the big thing on Wednesday nights out at Sapphire is the vendor parties. But at the end of the day, if you can stay motivated to stay at Sapphire at the event center, there's a session called SAP IDM, SSO, SAP Cloud Identity, GRC, Access Control. Where are you going? And that's A5308. This whole area is honestly confusing to me. If I want to do password self-service reset, I have solutions in GRC, I have solutions in IDM, and I don't know which one to go with. NetWeaver single sign-on, you've implemented it. Are there any sessions, or did you see anything about NetWeaver single sign-on out at Sapphire, or do you think that's more of a tech ed topic?
I think it's more of a tech ed topic. I haven't seen, except for that session, I'm not sure how in-depth that one's going to go, but haven't really seen any innovations in the single sign-on space since 2.0 came out.
I agree. We've seen some two-factor authentication was kind of neat with SSO 2.0, but other than that, we're not sure. It is a valuable product, though. I mean, I don't think you or I think it's not worthwhile investment because, you've implemented it. It was easy to implement, and it's a high value.
Yeah, from an implementation standpoint, it's really easy to get up and get started. And from a licensing perspective, we've seen that it's the cost is pretty low.
Yeah, compared to other products.
Right.
Which is everything's compared to other products, it's pretty low. The other thing in security that I'm interested in learning about is basically vulnerability scans. So SAP has the code vulnerability analysis, CVA. SAP has partnered with HP to scan Java code. I don't know where Fiori fits in this, but secure code development is definitely on my track. And then there is a security roundtable a security lecture called Simplifying Security, A3973 on Tuesday at 2 o'clock. So that's an interesting session for me because security is not always just roles and profiles, but it's the security of our systems, right? Yeah. All right. Now the next topic that I had that I wanted to talk about was cloud, right? So SAP has their own cloud, HANA Cloud, right? HANA Enterprise Cloud, HEC, or HCP, HANA Cloud Portal. But the other two vendors in the room for cloud are Amazon and Azure. I mean, what any sessions that you were looking forward to there?
Yeah, Microsoft has a session on Azure, running HANA in Azure. So that's definitely one hot session that I'm going to attend. For Amazon, we leverage Amazon in-house for our own HANA environment. So.
Yeah, I've been hearing rumors that Amazon's going to increase their limit for HANA. So for those of you who don't know, cal.sap.com is the cloud appliance library. And SAP has images of their software components that you can deploy on Amazon Web Services in the cloud, right? Yep. An example of this is actually Solution Manager 7.2. Last week on Wednesday night, I was playing around with Cloud Appliance Library, and I activated 7.2 on HANA in Amazon Cloud in about 45 minutes. So really quick, really fast, and SAP has tight integration with Amazon. So it'll be interesting to know, to see what's going to happen with Azure. Are they going to do anything innovative, or are they just going to be catching up to what Amazon's offering?
Right. Yeah, that's great. I'm not sure if it'd be nice if they came out with some of the templatized implementation stuff that Amazon has had over the years.
Exactly. Amazon has if for those of the basis people out there, if you need to stand up systems really quick in Amazon, it literally is right-click provision. They even have OS images out there for Red Hat for SAP and SUSE for SAP, yeah. So that you have these predefined operating system builds just for SAP application servers with all the kernels. All right. Talking about cloud, one thing I just wanted to point out I thought was missing from the agenda, in my perspective, was when I searched the agenda for anything HANA Cloud Portal mobile services, couldn't find anything. If I typed mobile and HANA, mobile and HCP, mobile and cloud, I couldn't find anything that was tangible that had a lot of value. For those of you out there that are using SAP's mobile platform, SMP or Sybase and Wired platform as it was called previously, there is a cloud comparison project called ACP-MS, HANA Cloud Portable Services. So I was disappointed in knowing that I couldn't find any sessions out there easily. When you search HCP-MS, you're not anything out there. So hopefully someone from SAP is watching and they'll ping us some session IDs talking about HANA Cloud Portal and mobile services. Now, obviously, the big thing that we haven't talked about so far, right? We went a whole 15 minutes without saying it was S4.
Yeah.
Right? That's very rare in any SAP content to not say S4 within the first minute. So S4 migrations. What are your thoughts? I mean, in terms of the information that SAP is putting out and the sessions that are available at this conference.
I think there's a lot of sessions around it, and I feel like it's finally gaining momentum with customers. A lot of customers, first their roadmap is kind of just to get ERP on HANA. So that's what we've seen a lot of customers doing, is actually migrating their ERP instance into HANA. And once it's in HANA, then they start planning around the S4 migration or conversion, so to speak. And so a lot of people are doing proof of concepts and things of that nature. And so there's a lot of content in Sapphire this year about S4, and a lot of it around also, like we talked about, Solution Manager 7.2 and leveraging that for your S4 implementation.
Yes. So, I mean, SAP's betting the farm on S4 HANA. So we know there's lots of sessions, and you've got a couple, and I've got a couple, and I'm just going to talk through a couple. The first one is roadmap to S4 Finance. Just so everybody knows out there in the world, you cannot activate any other S4 components, S4 Logistics, S4 Projects, etc., without activating S4 Finance. So you have to activate S4 Finance before you can use anything else in the S4 HANA suite. And so it's super important that everybody really understands, how do I get to S4 HANA Finance? What's my shortest path, my least path of resistance? And while I'm talking about the next topic, maybe highlight some of your S4 sessions. So for S4, number one confusing thing I think right now is that SAP marketing, which they do a great job, is making it sound like or feel like I can go to S4 HANA in one step, right?
Yeah.
Right? And and I know that tactically over a weekend, it would be tough to migrate a database to HANA and then do the finance table conversion for S4 Finance.
Yeah, that's a lot to get done in one cutover.
Yeah, it's a lot of validation before and after, right?
Exactly.
So you convert your system to HANA in one weekend. We're talking when we're doing conversions now, and you've done a couple. We're hitting 8 to 16 hours of downtime doing 1, 2, 3, 4 terabyte conversions, which I think is great, right? If you have a whole weekend, 8 hours of downtime, and then you have kind of 40 hours for post-processing, pre-processing, and validation. There's just no time to do S4 Finance activation.
Yeah, I agree. To get that all done in one weekend and all the validation is a pretty tough task.
And so that's one thing I'm hoping customers realize is that the S4 HANA journey starts with Suite on HANA first. Now these could be different weekends. You could go to S4 Suite on HANA one weekend, S4 HANA the following weekend, and that's totally doable. Just keep in mind, Suite on HANA is no forced business process change, whereas S4 HANA is forced business process change. I have new transactions, new security, new processes, etc. And I don't think people are picking that up in the marketing material.
Yep. Yeah, well, even when you're migrating initially onto HANA, you're going to have your H transactions and stuff that they're going to be optimized.
And you're absolutely right. H transactions. Let's talk about that for a sec. So when you migrate to Suite on HANA, we all know in SAP we have the N transaction. So we went from 4.6 or 4.7 to ERP6. We had FAGL03N, we had MB52N, etc. Well, now SAP has H transactions, right? And you activate these in ERP once you go to Suite on HANA, which is very cool. So some of the sessions I'm looking forward to is Take the Best Route to S4, which is A5185. That is on Wednesday, which I think is great. And then another session on Thursday, A4034, S4 HANA Adoption with Central Finance.
Yeah, some of mine are the Go Live with S4 Faster with Solution Manager and the Preparing Legacy Custom Code for the S4 HANA deployment.
We're going to talk about Legacy Custom Code in a minute, but let's first talk about Solution Manager and S4. So SAP has a new framework for implementing S4 called Activate. And it's been kind of innocuous, I guess I would say. in the market because a lot of people don't really understand what Activate is.
Yeah.
So Activate, from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, is a framework, meaning it's not just a methodology, but it's also a set of tools.
Yep.
Right? So it's a way of actually, if you're a new S4 customer, SAP Activate is actually wizard-based configuration of SAP. If you're an existing SAP customer, you can't use those wizard-based config tools, but there is best practices available. Now, legacy data preparation. You've talked about this before. Why don't you talk about some of the gotchas? If I'm not running a NetWeaver 702 or Enhancement Pack 5 and above, what are my options for analyzing legacy code?
So, if you're under, for an instance, an ERP system that's not an Enhancement Pack 5, so if you're on Enhancement Pack 4 and you're on NetWeaver 701, some of the pre-canned variants that are part of the code inspector are not available. So you have a couple options there. And what we've done in the past is maybe after a test upgrade and migration, we're on NetWeaver 7.4 or 7.5 for Enhancement Pack 8. And then we can analyze all the code because we're on a release that supports those variants. Or if you have another system in your landscape that is on 7.4, we can export the stuff from your source system that's on 701 and import it in and analyze the code within 7.4 in another system.
And see, that's a key point right there. So SAP gives us the tools we need to analyze our custom code to say, hey, what's non-HANA compliant, right? Yep. In general, when we've run this for customers, we're actually not finding that much that's not HANA compliant, right?
Right. Yeah, not compliant, but can be optimized.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When we run the optimization query, there's a lot to be optimized, right. and that list comes back in the thousands in most cases.
Yeah.
But in terms of non-HANA compliant code, I mean, a great story is a customer that is running SAP since '98. So they were running on R3, and then they upgraded to Enhancement Pack 4, and then they upgraded to Enhancement Pack 7, and then we're moving them to Suite on HANA. And we ran the SAP Code Inspector for them, and even though they've been running SAP near 20 years, there was less than 40 objects that were not HANA compliant, right? So that was amazing to me, that SAP has done such a good job of actually creating a database that I can slide under an ERP system and not impact the ABAP code.
Gentlemen, we have a question from the audience. Srini's asking, will Gabe and Michael send out a list of the sessions they're recommending?
Absolutely. So all the sessions that we recommend, we will send out a list. If we have your email address in Ustream, we will send out a list of all the sessions. We will post them to the notes on the Ustream section. We will also put this on our YouTube channel. So all the sessions that we recommend, we're going to put out there. So there are quite a few. So SAP Code Inspector, honestly, I don't even recall seeing a session about that. You had one though, preparing legacy code.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see what tools that they're recommending we go with in that session.
Yeah, absolutely. Sticking with the S4 HANA migration, one of the big things that's going to happen when you go to S4 is the user experience, the change in user experience. Now, we know that not all transactions, potentially, not all users are going to be able to work in S4 Fiori exclusively.
Right.
Because in the real world, we have Z transactions.
Right.
Right. And does that mean I have to build Fiori transactions for my Z transactions, or can I still use SAP GUI? Technically, you and I know SAP GUI still works with S4 HANA.
Correct. Right.
And so that's something that it gets confused out there. So it's the user adoption piece. Now, can you talk about, or have you read about the business client and how it kind of unifies user experience?
Yeah, so NetWeaver Business Client, how it can have the SAP GUI screens and Fiori screens built into one client. Yep,
that's exactly right. And I was teeing Gabe up for that one because that is something that a lot of SAP customers don't realize. I can use the NetWeaver Business Client to have a Fiori application standing next to a Personas application sitting next to a SAP GUI transaction. Whereas if I don't deploy the business client, I would have one browser with a Fiori transaction and then SAP GUI open with this. So if anything, that's the opposite of a better user experience because they're going in and out of multiple applications.
Yeah, and the big thing with the user experience that we're seeing is training people up to do their day-to-day jobs in this new application.
Yep.
Everybody's been on SAP GUI for so long and they're so used to it. It's getting them to embrace the new interface.
Yep, absolutely. And it's a challenge for security team, right? Because users would access reports that maybe we didn't know they accessed, and now you give them the Fiori UI and they feel like they can't do their job.
Yep.
So there's a lot of organizational change, a lot of focus on security when moving to Fiori. So it's interesting to attend some of these sessions to learn about how to do that. Now the next topic, which I know is near and dear to your heart, but not a lot of sessions on, candidly, is Test Data Migration Server.
Yeah, so Test Data Migration Server, I believe it's a great tool. It's a tool that a lot of customers own, and they've had issues implementing it. But once you get it set up and going, there's been a lot of new advances in 4.0 and all the subsequent support packages. So it's something we see a lot of people gaining more interest in. A lot of people own it, but they just aren't leveraging it. So I see a lot of people that are now starting to implement that.
So Gabe has a session on TDMS on how to implement. Peter Keller and Harley Davidson are running a roundtable. And I think you've told me before, Harley Davidson loves TDMS.
Yeah, they're a really big implementation. They leverage it a lot from what I hear.
Now, what can I do with it again? It's refreshing data, but how and why? Just talk about some of the projects.
When you're in a really large implementation, customers like Harley Davidson, Nike, they're huge implementations. You can't obviously do client copies, so your standard is system refreshes. So we're taking a full copy of the database. We have all this, multiple copies of production all over to have non-production environments. What TDMS can do is basically do a client refresh and bring over a small subset of transactional data. So a full set of config and master data, and then a small slice of transactional data. At the same time, we can scramble sensitive data. And
no, I agree. I mean, for me, just thinking while you're talking, I can use TDMS to refresh systems and get time slices of data and reduce my data footprint. But more importantly, I get good data, right? Good data impacts my change control, impacts my releases, it impacts development, impacts testing, it impacts my ability to deploy S4, right? Because I need to have good data in order to test the S4 migration.
Definitely. And you can bring in smaller subsets for development versus QA and things of that nature.
Now, we can't forget, we talked about sessions. And so all of our sessions that we recommend, again, we're going to post to Ustream. We'll also post to our YouTube channel. And if you're listening on the podcast, you'll have to check out our YouTube channel. Now, demo stations. So Sapphire is not just about attending presentations, but it's about attending the demo stations. These are pods that are kind of set up on the floor where I may or may not have access to a live system with somebody, but they're going to have access to a system to show me things and I can ask them questions. What were some of the demo pods that you think are valuable for people to hit?
So the demo pods that I had was accelerated implementations of S4 and the pods around Solution Manager 7.2 and also Hanavora. Hanavora is one that I was looking to get more information on.
Yeah, Hanavora is definitely interesting because us being in the ERP world traditionally, Internet of Things is something that you just didn't connect to ERP, right? So we don't have a ton of experience with it, but excited to see how that data can get mashed together with ERP data. For me, I had 6 pods that I thought would be valuable. The first one was the UX evolution. And again, the whole purpose of the demo pod is where I can go to a pod and actually talk to a product manager, talk to a product expert. And if you don't get the product manager, well, then ask for a text message when that person's going to be back so that you can speak to that product manager. So the UX Evolution pod is available. It's a demo station. It's DE419. SAP Startup Focus. This is an interesting space where SAP, I think, has improved from a developer perspective in terms of giving away access to development environments. We know that the web integrated development environment on HANA Cloud Portal is a space where developers can actually get a free developer account and free access to develop HANA Cloud apps. So I think SAP's done a good job here. They have a Startup Focus booth. I think that'll be a cool place to check out what startups they're supporting. There's a demo pod for application and information security. The description on this was a little light. I'm hoping to see some ways of protecting SAP, because you and I know SAP out of the box isn't protected. When you set it up, there's anonymous gateway connections, and we have to lock things down. Yep. And then the last thing I was looking is the same one that you said, IoT Innovations Technologies, the Vora demo pod. Those are the ones that I'm looking forward to seeing.
And just remember those demo pods, they repeat throughout the conference. So, everybody's schedule is pretty full, so you can look at the different times that those are available.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my recommended agenda, I have sessions going on at the same time.
Yeah.
So there's nothing I can do for you there. You're going to have to pick one or the other. But Gabe and I wanted to thank everybody for attending today. It's been an absolute fun for us to share what we're looking forward to seeing at Sapphire. We hope to see you at some of our sessions. Thank you again.
Thank you.